G'day and welcome, my name's Cautious Pancake and welcome to the morning of day 3 of my Aska series. As you can see, after doing a bit of mining last night, we've got some extra adrenaline blood. So let's whack that straight in the eye of Odin, activate that, and we've got a choice between Gustav and Frederick. So a forager with good hunger protection and another forager with cold resistance. So good that we've got both foragers. And I'm going to take Gustav, I think, just because he's got the cold protection, which is going to be more useful. Hopefully we don't have too much of a food problem. As you can see, we also got Vigdis last night. And we just need to now look at where we're going to assign people. I did have Adele at the Gatherer's Pit, but we might change that out now that we've got Gustav joining us shortly. So let's now also look at Vigdis, who's got a strong propensity for stone cutting and learning how to mine stone, so he's going to do best over in the stone cutter's pit, and we might just put Adele back onto the woodcutter's pit. And although she's not best suited to learning there, that might just be the best use of her skills for now. With the 3 pits now complete, it's also time to start thinking about the more advanced production buildings. You can see there's quite a lot of them for us to work through over the coming days. The first one that we need to build is the woodcutter's pit, of course. And we've also opened up all the extra options, which we'll work through in the coming days to look at how to build out our village and get things really progressing well. This is also where, when you need to start working out what it is that you're going to build, you're going to need to start looking through at what the prerequisites are, of course. For the mine hut, we need the workshop, and for the fishermen's, we actually need the gatherer's pit upgraded. So let's start off with the workshop pit. As you can see, it's quite a big building once it's fully extended. It won't be that big to start with. Just going to work out where we're going to put that one. On the side here looks somewhere good if we can make it fit. The other thing we need to think about, of course, is housing and where we're going to put them. I do like to have the cottages a little more organised and stacked than we've got the ramshackle shelters at the moment. We also need to look at obviously upgrading these pits to the huts, as they're sort of prerequisites for other pieces that we need to get. But back to the workshop pit. I'd like to get it on the edge here behind the gatherers. There we go. We can almost sneak it in there. See, it goes green. That looks roughly straight. It's hard to tell sometimes. I do kind of wish there was a snap to grid feature for some of this, just to help, with my OCD and making sure that all the buildings are nicely lined up. But, a Viking village doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly squared off. We'll just need to do a bit of work here. Because I've got no one assigned as a builder, we can't just run off and let them deal with it. And speaking of people assigned as builders, here's Gustav. You can see there, what have we got? Forager, Tireless, Snow Strider, and a Shrimpy Woobson. So he's no good at chopping trees. He is good at wandering around in the snow. I'm no good at talking, but now we've got him, we'll assign him to the gatherer's pit, and he can hopefully start running around and picking up some mushrooms after it rains, some berries, other bits and pieces and seeds for when we do eventually get a farm. And that'll just keep everybody with some food in their bellies, so that we don't have to worry about people starving. We do have to build him a shelter. Again, I'm not too worried about these ones in the layout, because we'll tear them down once we've got enough housing in cottages. You've seen me build this before, so let's just try and run through this one as quickly as possible. If we've got all the materials, it shouldn't take too long. There we go. Thankfully, everything was nice and easily to hand, so we didn't have to go running around and picking up everything. Hurt ourselves a little bit making that one, but that's all good. That's the shelter for Gustav complete. Oh, I was trying to get the rock behind there. Now that we've got our stonecutter's pit, we should put that away and, you know, keep things nice and tidy. Can't fit it in, so we'll just dump it on the ground. So much for being tidy. Anyway, the other thing we've got to do is make sure that Gustav has assigned to the shelter so he has somewhere to sleep. And then you can see there the food's starting to show up in the gatherer's pit. And I can also dump all of the stuff that I've been lugging around, all the seeds and bits and pieces in here. Frees up my inventory and gives the rest of the villagers something they can go and grab. Let's finish this one off. Probably the next thing that we need to get moving on. So the workshop pit is the place where you can assign a villager and they will keep constant tools built so that you don't need to worry about making them yourself. You can always just run back and grab one from the stash of ready-made tools. It's very handy to have that when you break an axe or a pickaxe, as well as the fact that your villagers will also need tools, particularly when they need to chop down the bigger trees or the harder trees or mine the bigger rocks. They're going to need more advanced tools, and the workshop pit is where those tools get made. Obviously, if you want to build them yourself, you can do that. That's the good thing about Aska. You can either do things yourself or you can assign villagers to do it for you. Once your village scales up a bit though, it's a whole lot easier if you've got assigned villagers just taking care of the things that need to be taken care of. Of course, the next bit's probably going to be going and finding some fibers for some rope. I did say that early game, that is the thing that we're pretty much always going to run out of. Having said that though, mussels. Mussels are a good early game source of food. We probably also need some more Jotun blood, because we're going to need another villager to work in our workshop. So while we're building the workshop, good if you can get a villager in. Oh, and here's our first wisp. And there goes our first wisp. They're not particularly strong or tough. You can see I'm actually even just fighting them with the stone axe. I haven't bothered with a weapon, just with a standard tool. And the good thing about them is they drop fibers, which is very handy for all that rope that you can't make early on in the game. There's our small Jotun blood shard, so you can run over and mine this one down. Hopefully get some extra blood. You know you'll get at least one. Just the one from that one. Pick him up. Get the stones, because might as well. Take a drink. And I think I saw another one just over here somewhere. There it is. Oh, another wisp. I heard. Where is he? There he is. Oh, didn't get the hits in. 2 hits will usually stun him. There we go. Extra fibers and finish off mining this one. One more blood. And I think that was all we needed. There's 3 already in there. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe we already had only the 1. Can't remember now, so let's, while we're out here, go and get a couple more. One here. Just another single. And there was one just over here as well. There we go. So that's definitely the 5 that we need. I don't think there's any... Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think there's any other ones immediately obvious. So from here, let's go fill up with reeds so that we can make all the rope that we need for that workshop. Grabbing some extra mussels along the way, and that'll probably do us for now. It's getting on towards the evening, so let's head on back. Not that there's any real penalty for running around in the evening in the dark, but it does make things a little difficult to see what's going on. You can use the bar at the top with the cluster of icons to show where you need to run to when you're a little bit further away from home and you can't recognize the landscape so much. those icons can be customized off the map screen, but for the early game, it's easy enough to just leave them all on. There's not too many of them. But as you get into things a little bit later on, that can get a little busy, and you can start to decide what you want to leave turned on to display there and what you want to turn off, which is very, very handy. Okay. We only need 4 rope. I can't quite make the fibre because we just don't quite have enough fibre, but that's okay. You can pop that in, and actually before we make that up, let's get the summons going, because that will take a few minutes. So this Thora likes spring and can run. Eagle, I don't know how to say his name, but he doesn't mind the cold at night and is a heavy hitter. So we might try that guy. Someone's going to have to tell me how to say his name. Alright, so while that summons is happening, let's see if we can put away the thatch. We can't because they've been diligently stocking that up for me. So let's just strip that all down actually, and then make up some rope. Storage space is full. Yep, good job. That's what we want, but here's some food. The mussels for you. Just in case they haven't been eating for a while. And the other thing we're going to need to do is build another shelter. Don't necessarily have to do that straight away. They can usually get summoned in and, you know, work that first night without too much repercussion. So we'll finish this off. Didn't need an extra build, which is always handy. And this is where you can see now, here are all the tools and weapons that we can get anyone allocated to this to make. That large stone axe is very important because that will allow us to chop fir trees, not just the young fir trees. That means that we can start to get logs, which will be needed to craft the next stage of buildings. You can craft up some of the prerequisite materials and just drop them in there. That helps them make up the tools a little bit faster, rather than having to go over to the stonecutter's pit and grab extra tools for themselves. Stock up ourselves on a little bit of food from those mussels. So we want to make one of these, particularly for ourselves. That's what I'm trying to do now, is craft myself a stone axe, rather than waiting for Eagle to come in and do it for us. Just because it means that we can spend a little bit of the evening hopefully just chopping down some of the larger trees and getting some of the logs ready for the building that we'll need to do. Do some of this thatch. Grab some sticks, always handy. Start with the stuff that's lying around on the ground. Grab some extra sticks just in case. And we should now be able to make large stone axe. And hopefully also the large stone pickaxe. So the pickaxe obviously will let us do bigger rocks than we've been able to do for now. There's some other interesting tools in here like the road maker that we'll need as we move along. Funnily enough, the road maker makes roads. Good for villagers to be able to run along, use less energy to travel along them, and, you know, use the routes that we want them to use to get to places. So let's give the new axe a shot. As you can see, this is a full-size fir tree. Has more hit points, so it takes a little bit longer to chop down. But the bigger axe also does more damage. So overall, while it takes a little bit longer, it's not a huge increase in time. The advantage, of course, being is we get the new materials that we're going to need from it. There we go. Knock this down into its parts. And as you can see, there's now 3 logs. At least 2 long sticks that I can see, as well as all of the usual bark, resin, and sticks. Now, because again we need that extra sleeping room for the new guy coming in, Can't quite build a cottage yet because that needs all of the pits upgraded to huts. So I think we're just going to put in another shelter. They're a little bit, they're nice and quick and easy and gets the job done. We can replace that with a cottage as we get a little bit further in. Here's Eagle. What other traits does he have? Mighty Vigor, Tireless Vitality is good, and Soggy Discomfort is not so good. Means he'll be not as happy when he gets wet and rainy. But overall, pretty good guy to have. Doesn't have a Builder's perk, unfortunately. Kind of want a Craftsman, sorry, not a Builder's perk, a Craftsman perk working at the workshop. But we can always shuffle people around as we get more villagers in the future. But now, let's finish building his hut. One of the things that's probably worth noting that since we haven't finished... Oh, it just went green. I was just about to say that since we haven't assigned Eagle to a role yet, he's just going to be acting as a builder, and in the background you can see he's finishing off building his own shelter. It's one of the advantages of leaving some of the villagers as builders, is that they will run around and finish your construction projects for you. So he's done his own shelter, now he's going for a nap. Good on you, mate. That's not a day's work. Anyway, now we just need to work out what we want to do, and that's probably going to be upgrading the woodcutter's pit to a woodcutter's hut. So if we kick that one off, we can let Eagle start working on constructing that when he wakes up in the morning, which isn't too far away now, a couple of hours. So since we're always going to need more villagers, we might as well do some more Jotun blood mining. The difference now is we can use the big pickaxe and start taking care of some of these larger blood shards. These will typically give usually minimum of 2, sometimes 3, and I think I've even seen a 4. I don't know if that's gone any higher than that for anyone else out there, so those are the sorts of ranges that you can get from these ones. Two off the first, so we'll whack them in there so we don't have to carry them around. Just looking at Eagle. Yeah, so he's got nothing special there. His learning skills aren't particularly great. He's got no special bonuses that will allow him to learn anything fast, apart from a little bit of combat skill. And we're not quite up to building our own armies just yet, so we're going to assign him to the workshop. And then while we're waiting for morning to come around, let's start working out what tasks we want to assign to the workshop, which is what Eagle will start building for us. We want to always have a large stone axe. You can set the quantity that you want building as well, in case you want more than one to always be on hand. We want one of the pickaxes. We need to build a farm first before we can set the rake to be something that we want to make. We could add a road maker. Yeah, let's actually put one in there, shall we? Yeah, we'll need it eventually. We can also put in a short bow. We're going to need that for a hunter at some point. Some arrows need to always be on hand for the hunter so that he can always just go and grab them. I'm not going to worry about weapons for now though. Combat at this early stage is not too complicated, so you know, we can make do with the stone axe. And that is the morning of day 4 just started. So that'll probably do, at least initially, for the workshop. We can start to look now at constructing up the woodcutter's hut. Since we've assigned Eagle to the workshop to make tools for us, we're going to have to do the legwork ourselves. So some of these trees that we chopped down last night are going to come in handy for the logs. You can see it's single phase build, so that's all the materials that we're going to need. 1 more log, 4 long sticks, bit of rope, some lodestone, sticks and bark. So I think we should have most of that on hand. Again, rope might be the thing that we don't, but let's get all the other materials pushed into the build and we'll see what's left at the end. one more large stone to go. You can see that the stone cutter's filling them up now that we're ripping all the rocks out. And now it's just rope. One of the advantages of the gatherer's hut is if he's out grabbing flax, that means that we can come here and there's a nice pile of fibre for us to use. Again, so that we don't have to run around and do everything ourselves. We can put the extra rope into there for Eagle to make tools with. And we're done with the woodcutter's hut. That just adds some extra capacity around the edge for everything that we need. Oh, he already is struggling to find a few bits and pieces, but that's okay. And there's now also a resin storage in the woodcutter's hut for us to keep some extra bits and pieces, and also a log storage. That's our log storage there. So the woodcutter will now be able to add logs in, especially if there is a large axe here for them to use. There's our food foraging marker. So let's talk about markers and foraging areas or gathering areas for any of the assigned villages. So we might want to actually add another marker to cover off an open area somewhere down in this direction, assuming that there's nothing bad down there. We want to head down and build one of these. Only takes a stick and a rope. You can usually find them out and about if you just want to head out to where you want things, or sometimes when you're out doing bits and pieces, you might see an area that has lots of food growing or lots of animals running around and want to put a marker for either a gatherer or a hunter. These are the markers that you can control where your villagers will explore to go and get the things that they need. You can see the big yellowy red beam, orangey beam. That's where we put the marker on the map. That looks a long way away on the map, but isn't actually that far for us to run. Now there doesn't actually look like there's a heap of food around here, but in the interest of giving it just a little bit more space, and sometimes it can vary season to season, we'll put one down. You can see that now covers that area. Doesn't look like it overlaps too much, which is good, and it just gives the gatherer somewhere else to go to start picking up the things that we're going to need. While we're out here, let's knock this one down, get a bit of extra blood. That one got flung away. Just the one though. And where do we need to go? Let's head over this way. See what else we can see. Another one here. Again, while you're out and about. Ooh, something over in the background there. Might be. Sometimes it's just a stone feature. Sometimes there can be some not so friendly guys running around the outside. So we'll finish that there now, and maybe, I was going to say pop over and have a look, but I think that answers the question. We have skeletons with very large persuaders in their hands that they're running around with. So I'm going to run away. There's our gatherer who's obviously popped over to say hello to them as well. Not sure that's a good idea, mate. I've run back in the distance there to hang out. But we want to avoid that area, I think, for a little while. Until we've got, some people with a bit more combat. And, maybe even a weapon or a shield or a bow or something like that. So we'll grab the blood, the rocks, and so the forage marker does tend to go out into that open area. So what we might actually just do is dismantle that. You get your materials back, so that's all good. Take them, and we might just move that a little bit further away so that our gatherer doesn't become skeleton stew. Rebuild that. Should be nice and easy. Got all the materials. Boom, there we go. That now doesn't go out beyond the tree line, which is where the skeletons were. Since we're here, large Jotun blood shard. So we've got 3 from that one, 4 from that one. There you go, you can get 4. So So I was going to say there was another one just behind here somewhere. It's hidden in the bushes, but... Oh, there goes our gatherer. He's off. Let's knock this one down as well. See if we can get another pile. We've got plenty already while we wait for our stamina to recharge. So we've already got the next villager covered, but again, while you're out and about, worth grabbing. You don't have to remember where they were when you want to go and get them later. Okay, just the 2 from that one, but that marks probably enough of that for now. Let's head on back. Oh, we can see Eagle's stuck. He needs fibers for crafting. Let's give him everything that we've got on us because we took it all from the gatherer's pit. So that was a bit rude. Could take some of the eggs for ourselves to eat. Although I think we've still got mussels, so let's finish those off instead. And you can see Eagle's good now. He's made those. We've got a spare large axe. We don't have a spare pickaxe yet, but he should be making one of them next. He does work down the assigned tools in the order that we put them into the queue, at least as long as he's got the mats. I think sometimes they will skip them if they don't have the required materials to make the one that they need. The next thing we need to make is the stonecutter's hut. As you can see, the stone cut, I was going to say is full, but he actually needs a pickaxe. So we'll just give the dodgy old pickaxe that we've got over for now. Hopefully that tides her over until our workshop finishes crafting up an extra pickaxe. Dump these straight in. We need a couple of logs, a few long sticks, a couple of rope and some bark. So grab all the bark first and grab the long sticks. You can do 2 at the same time. We can do all of the small materials at the same time as just one of the things that you're carrying. And let's see if we can finish this off nice and quick. Right, that was the last log. Just need to make the rope, which we're short of materials. As always, for the rope, Gatherer hasn't added any extra fibers in just for the moment. And I'm guessing our workshop builder has used up all the fiber that we needed. We don't have a lot of thatch sitting around, but maybe that's enough just to get us going. We just need the 2 rope. So we can always just pop that in, finish the build. And we can worry about going and getting some replacement thatch or bark for some extra fiber later. There's our stonecutter's pit done. Now has 12 slots for large rocks instead of the 6 from before. And, you know, plenty of room for small stones that we always have way too many of. Ooh. Pack of hungry smokers are coming. They're the kind of weird overgrown, I'm going to say rabbit. I'm sure they're not rabbits, but they look like big rabbits. I'm just going to see whether we can see them, because that would be a good kind of early meat option for us. You can also get leather scraps. There they are. He's already rabbited, so I don't think we're going to catch him anytime soon. I don't have a bow. I suppose there's probably one over there, but I don't think you'll one-shot them early on. So it can be a little frustrating to constantly chase after them. And I personally prefer to leave it to the hunter. So I'm going to ignore them for now. We don't have a farm that they're going to come and steal things from just yet, so that's all good. I assume they steal things from farms, but I haven't actually seen that happen, because when I've seen them most of the time before, it's been in a fenced enclosure, so they haven't been able to get in too much. But that's maybe something we can test later on. Alright, well, that looks like to be evening of day 4, so I'm going to spend the evening just pottering around the campsite, finishing off a few bits and pieces. So I'll kick on with that and see you all in the morning. Whoa, blood moon rises. What is this, 7 days? actually the evening of day 4, and the blood moon has risen. So I'm assuming we're about to be attacked, which is why I'm panicking and running around. No, just going to finish chopping down this tree, because I do know that you get a few minutes before they show up. Where are they going to come from, though? That's the question. Now, if you look at the map icons at the top of the screen, that black and red option, that's where they're going to come from. There'll be a portal down there somewhere, I think, where they spawn in. Oop, and if we do the search, you can see here comes some whites. Now, I'm just using our large axe. That seems to do a pretty good number on them. Stuns them after a couple of hits, and if they double up like that, we can hit both of them at the same time, which makes pretty quick work of them. The next trick is to harvest them up is to use a skinning knife, which I happen to have on me. And you can hold it down, but I have found, and here's a little tip, that if you spam it or pulse it really, a little bit on, a little bit off, you actually skin a whole lot faster than just holding it in. So this is also a really good way to level up your skinning, and the whites will drop the occasional blood shard, as well as lots and lots of bones, which are used for making bone tip arrows and spiked clubs. So with that, there we go, drain blood. So with that out of the way, that's probably all we need to worry about for the rest of the evening. I'll continue doing some crafting, making up the gatherer's hut over here, and I'll see you all tomorrow. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did, and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more of my future videos. Massive thanks to my patrons for their support. Thanks to you for watching, and enjoy ruling your Viking village.